So thank you everyone for attending. We have a good attendance. Actually, this is one of those successful webinars, and I think the reason, actually there are two main reasons. One is the team at Holborn has done a good job spreading the news and inviting their existing clients and potential clients, and good job you guys. And also the law changes potential in Portugal. There is a sense of urgency. There are law changes coming up next year, so whoever hasn't decided needs to decide fairly faster. And Pablo will go more into details on this subject. So without further ado, Pablo, please, the floor is yours. You can go ahead and start.
Okay, thanks, Abraham, for the introduction. Very nice to talk to you, everyone. Thank you very much for attending. So we planned this webinar anyway, just on the Portuguese Golden Visa, because it is a fantastic program. And then just about a week ago, the Prime Minister of Portugal came out saying that it's very likely they're going to close the program next year. So the timing of it couldn't be better. Hence why the title, Portuguese Golden Visa, Now or Never. And today I'll introduce who we are at Holborn Assets, Holborn Pass, in case you don't know who we are. We will go through the news of the Portugal Golden Visa coming to an end, and the deadlines and how to apply, etc., etc. And then we'll just cover the program, the process, the benefits, and we'll look at two real estate options, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. So if you've got any questions, please just type them in the Q&A as you've been doing, and we will cover them at the end. Okay, so Holborn Assets is a global wealth management company. We've been based in Dubai since 1998, and we have offices in over 20 countries across the world, in Africa, Middle East, Europe. We have one in Portugal, US, and Asia. We do mainly all sorts of investments, insurance, funds, et cetera, pension plans, that kind of thing. And I head up the department that's called Holborn Pass, which focuses on investments that give you either citizenship or residency. We work with 18 different government programs, but our focus really is in Portugal, because it's the only developed country where you can get the passport remotely, without donating a lot of money like in Malta. So we have exclusive properties, which I'll explain at towards the end of the presentation. And essentially we centralize the whole process and make our clients' lives as easy as possible. We work with the government, the bank, the accountants, the developer, and the lawyers, all on the client's behalf. So the client just deals with us, and we deal with everyone else, different language, different time zone, and make the process as straightforward as possible, from when you get the Golden Visa until you get the citizenship. Okay, so what did this gentleman here on the right, which is the Prime Minister of Portugal, say last week at the Lisbon Web Summit? He basically said that the Golden Visa program has pretty much fulfilled its role, which was to help the Portuguese economy when it launched 10 years ago with the deficit, with the unemployment. Portugal now has full employment, and they bridge the deficit, and there's a lot of innovation and a lot of startups and a lot of good things happening for Portugal. So this is what he said. This happens a lot in investment migrations programs. Just this year, for example, the UK closed down their program in February. Cyprus closed down their program, I think it's 3 years ago, or 2 to 3 years ago. The US increased their program overnight from 500,000 to 800,000. Turkey increased it from 250 to 400 this June. Greece has just increased it from 250 to 500,000. And the EU has been chasing a lot of these programs to kind of close them down sooner than later. So what do we know? Because right now the government hasn't given a precise deadline. They haven't said, there's no law that's been passed. They just said that likely it's going to end. So in 2021, the Portuguese government also changed the Portuguese Golden Visa. And on December 31st, they gave a 6-month deadline until June 2021, and in the end they ended up extending it by 6 more months. What happened then is that they were changing certain properties from qualifying for Golden Visa. So residential no longer qualifies for Golden Visa in Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve, and they increased certain prices. So what that meant just last year was that there was a huge race to submit the file to apply for the Golden Visa before the change to the law. And that is what you need to do to make sure you still qualify for the Golden Visa, is apply before any deadline. Okay, on average, it takes about 4 months to submit an application, assuming no delays. So, if the deadline was in June, you'd have to start in February latest. So what are the possible scenarios for the ending of the Portuguese Golden Visa? So worst case scenario, let's take, we hope for the best and then plan for the worst. So worst case scenario, deadline is in June 2023, which means anyone who is considering applying for the Golden Visa should do it latest in February. Better to do it before. If this is the right program for you, get it done before it's too late, and then you're left with an investment that doesn't qualify for the Golden Visa, and worst of all, you can't get EU passports for you and your family. Another scenario which could happen is that the deadline is in December 2023, so maybe this time next year, and which means the deadline to start would be in July 2023. Okay, but anyone considering it, I wouldn't wait till February. I wouldn't wait till to push it the deadline. I'm just giving you the absolute latest dates. Okay. So this is our country comparison index at Holborn, where we compare the different programs that we work with. So on the left, you'll see we have the citizenship programs, where we have 9 countries that offer their passport for investment. And on the right, we have the residency programs, whereby countries offer their residency for investment. So in the first 9 over here, an investor could get a passport typically in 4 to 6 months. First 6 are Caribbean countries, which are good for someone who wants a travel document. Then you have Malta, which is a €1 million donation, meaning you don't get that money back. That is money that you don't see again in exchange for that EU passport. Why is Malta so expensive? It's because you get an EU passport in 1 year. And the benefits of having an EU passport is that it's not just one country, it's 27, where your children could study in Holland, for example, or an island. You could retire to Cyprus or to Greece or to Spain. You could work in Germany. You could retire to the Côte d'Azur in France, or Positano in Italy. So it really is a lot of options for many different reasons. You could save a lot of money on university fees by sending your kids to Holland, for example. So it's the plan B, and you get a passport that lets you travel to 185 countries visa-free, including the US, Canada, Australia, pretty much the whole world besides China and Central Africa. So one way to get the passport is via Malta. Montenegro and Turkey, they're not part of the EU, so we don't get too much interest on these. And then that leaves us with the residency programs. Now, the residency programs can become a passport. If you look at the first row here, it says it takes 5 to 10 years for these residencies to become a passport. Now, in all these countries, you need to live there. If you look at the row here where it says physical stay time for citizenship, you need to spend 6 months per year in these countries, i.e. be a tax resident for 5 to 10 years to be able to get the passport, with the exception of Portugal. Portugal is the only country where you can carry on living in, wherever you live, or you have flexibility to move across the world. And as long as you buy a property that qualifies for the Golden Visa between 280 and $500,000, and you spend 5 weeks total in that 5-year period in Portugal, and you have a basic level of Portuguese by end of year 6, you will get the citizenship for yourself, spouse, kids, parents, anyone who's involved in that application. So for that reason, Portugal is so special compared to any other program. And that's why it's our best-selling program, because the decision isn't to go and move your family for the next 5 to 10 years to another country. The decision is to buy a property that qualifies for the Golden Visa at 280,000 euros, hold it for 6 years, and when you get your passport, you can sell it on the open market. So that's just a quick explanation of why Portugal is as good as it is. For anyone who hasn't been to Portugal, it's voted as the most welcoming country in the world. Over 70% of the population speak English. It has a very low crime rate, and for 3 years in a row, it's been voted the best retirement destination in the world. Good weather, low, low cost of living, and good food, good wine, and that kind of Mediterranean type culture. As a resident or a citizen, you can also get access to healthcare, to education, and to a pension, which is all free, and people can benefit from it and be cured from cancer or heart attack or anything. Okay, the Portuguese program has begun for 10 years, as we mentioned before. There's over, I think it's 11,000 people, families who've gotten their golden visas, and people started getting their passports in 2018 without actually having to live in Portugal. It's raised over $6 billion or euros in foreign direct investment. And as long as you don't have a criminal record, you can apply and you can get approved, and you can include your wife or husband, your kids, your parents on both sides of the marriage, and submit it all in that one investment. Now, it takes about 12 months until we can get the golden visa cards, okay? And we need to be here in step 4, where it says set online submission by the deadline changed to the golden visa or the end, right? So we have to be here. Imagine the deadline is June the 30th. As long as we submit the file by June 29th, that investment or that you've applied under the current law and you're safe. Doesn't matter what happens after, because the government can't change anything retroactively. They can only change the law going forward. If you apply on July the 1st, then you can't apply to a program. It doesn't exist. It's closed down. So we take care of everything. So we need to get tax numbers, open bank accounts, do powers of attorney. Then the clients buy the property in Portugal via the lawyers. And with the documents that we've helped the client compile, we apply for the golden visa. Client gets approved. And then the final stages, they do the biometrics. They pay for the golden visa cards. They have to be one trip to Portugal. It takes about half a day. And then the golden visa cards issued, and the 5 years starts counting for the citizenship. So once our clients and the investors have the golden visa cards, they're valid for 2 years. So in year 2 and in year 4, they need to go to renew the cards in Portugal. It takes about half a day as well to renew it, but we recommend you do 2-week holiday in year 2, 3-week holiday in year 4. So when we get to year 5 and we apply for the passport, they've already got the 5 weeks stay that are needed for the citizenship. The other requirement, as we said, is that the investor should have, and their family members need to have the A2 language level, which is not an intermediate level, it's not advanced, it's elementary. Normally requires a couple of hours a week for a couple of months, online classes, and that's enough to get the basic level.
Pablo, question on that specific thing you just said from Mazen. It's in the Q&A. Is the test required by the main applicant or the whole family, or just the adults? How about the children?
Everyone.
Okay, so the children, let's say you have a 10-year-old, they have to also pass the Portuguese basic level test?
Yeah, they'll probably get it faster than their parents as well. So
it's basic though, from what I know, is nationalities who don't have even the Latin base, which is French or English, as a base language, they are passing those tests after studying for them. Like people from China are passing those tests and getting their citizenships as well, correct?
That's right, yeah. Okay, so once the golden visa cards are issued during the first 5 years, clients could go and live and work in Portugal if they wanted to. They could, they'll never have to get a Schengen visa ever again, okay? Because they can travel freely across Schengen. They could open up a business in the 26 Schengen countries. And if they move to Portugal, they can benefit from a discount in taxes in Portugal. It's important to note, this question comes up a lot, that by having a golden visa or a citizenship in Portugal doesn't mean you pay any taxes in Portugal. You only pay taxes in Portugal if you're a tax resident in Portugal. Then again, you can access the healthcare, education, and contribute onto a pension. Now, once the 5 years go by, we apply for the passport, and our clients will get the passport based on these two conditions, as we mentioned earlier, which would allow them to have the fourth best passport in the world, travel to everywhere in green, visa-free, and then live, work, study anywhere in the countries in blue. Okay. All right. So currently, because the law changed this year, so these are the different options that qualify for the Golden Visa. I'll cover the real estate in the next slide. But in terms of the other routes besides the real estate, you can donate 250,000 euros to the government. You could invest or put 1.5 million euros in a bank account for 6 years. You can invest into private equity fund, but usually it's a 10-year exit strategy, and they're largely new and untested funds, so we don't do too much of this. And you can create a company, but you have to employ 10 people, which means the salaries over 6 years is something like 600,000 euro liability at a minimum wage type level. So most of our clients, 99% of them do real estate. And the real estate, not everything qualifies. So as of the 1st of January this year, they banned residential property from qualifying in Lisbon, in Porto, in the Algarve. So the main cities, you can now only do commercial. Residential would only qualify in, the rural areas, small towns, small cities in these areas here. So we're focused on the main cities, Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve. And there's basically two categories of real estate. One category is new build, meaning that if the minimum investment amount is €500,000 and you buy any commercial property, so hotels, offices, shops, or apartment hotels. And what we see now is that everyone is doing apartment hotels or service apartments, or touristic apartments, because you can still own it, you can rent it out, and normally there's some sort of buyback at the end of year 6 by the developer. So we have options across all categories. On the first one, that's new build, that's pretty much just anything that's €500,000 in Lisbon and Porto, that's commercial, qualifies for Golden Visa. In the Algarve, that drops by 20% to €400,000. And then the other category is this one here, which is €350,000 in Lisbon and Porto, or €280,000 in the Algarve. If you refurbish a building that's 30 years or older, and that's it. So how it normally works in this category is that a developer will find, an old building, sell it to Golden Visa investors at €280,000 per person. Included in that €280,000 is the refurbishment amount. So maybe that's €20,000. They will then refurbish the property over the next 2 years. And then from years 3 to 6, they will rent it out to tourists and normally offer some sort of rental return, but not always to the investors. And then at the end of year 6, there's usually some sort of buyback. Now, we have around 8 to 10 options in our portfolio for our clients. And we have, in my opinion, by far the best two properties at the 280 and the €500,000 level. And I'll be showing these to you now just quickly. So at the €500,000 level, the best property we found that qualifies for the Golden Visa would be this 5-star resort, 45 minutes from Lisbon, which is fully operational. It's built in 2021. And there's the 5-star hotel here, and then there's the hotel apartments, which are studios and 1-beds, and these are what we're selling. Now, we sold out of the studios pretty much. Then we have like 6 studios left, and now we have around 30 out of 60 1-bedrooms left, which all have, beautiful Gulf view and sea view. Now, what's very interesting about this property financially is that the clients get 7% rental return for 5 years. So 35% rental is paid up front for the 5 years to the investor. So 35% is €175,000. After tax, it becomes €131,000, which means that to buy a €500,000 1-bedroom apartment of 88 square meters, the clients only need €368,000 of their money, because to buy the property at €500,000, they will use their 368 and they will use a rental return, which is paid up front for the 5 years, which essentially, means that the clients need to invest much less money than they would if they were buying at $500,000 plus taxes. They'd have to invest, 570,000 euros with costs. Here, the total amount for a single applicant, I'll show you now, is 420,000 euros, all fees included, but they're buying a €500,000 apartment. So I'll show you the quotation in just a second. Just to finish this off, the hotel is one out of, I think, 4 five-star hotels in the area. There's a Marriott, a Bon Sucesso, all in a very high-end type luxury resort location. And clients can stay 6 weeks per year for free as part of their agreement with the hotel operator. Finally, there is an optional buyback, which means that if the investor, they can decide in year 4 if they want to enforce the buyback in year 6 for the original price of €500,000, or they can say no thank you, and then they can keep that property forever if they want, or they can sell it on the open market and maybe make an upside. So just to show you a couple more pictures about this property. So these are all real pictures as it is today, and this would be the interior of the 1-bedroom. Okay, the full cost of this is 423,000 euros, including all fees. It's actually quite tough to make money on the Portuguese Golden Visa because there's a lot of fees to take into account. You've got legal fees for a family of 1. You've got taxes when you buy a property, which are usually 7.5%, and Golden Visa card fees. But because of the rental return, that covers all the fees and actually leaves the client at a profit of 75,000 euros because they own a property at $500,000. So this is our best option we found at the $500,000 category. And then I'm going to show you now the option of the 280,000 euro category, which is this Yellow Tulip Resort in the Algarve, which is a building that's 30 years or older. It's very well conserved, as you can see it now, but it does need a refurbishment to take it up to a new level. So what's very unique about this property, at the 280,000 euro category, normally the investor doesn't own an apartment, they just own a percentage of the building. Here, the investor does own an apartment. In fact, they own 2 apartments. It's 2 studios at 52 square meters in total. And the price is between 280 to 295, depending on which way of the apartment is facing, if it's facing the pool or facing the hills or the gardens. Now, in terms of the financials here, so because it's a refurbishment project, the first 2 years are, it's been refurbished, so there is no rental. So clients get 4 out of 6 years rental. Now, from the 4 years rental, 3 of them are paid up front, and they're paid to the government on behalf of the client to pay for the taxes of buying the property. So I'll clarify how that works in a second. And then in year 6, then there's the normal, they can expect 4 to 5% rental return. And if clients want to keep it past year 6 and not go for the same optional buyback that I mentioned before, then they can also benefit from that income of 4 to 5% year on year. So these are just real pictures of the apartment hotel. And this is the refurbishment plan. So this is the 3 hotel buildings. Then you've got the restaurant and lobby area and an interior pool. So all of this is going to be refurbished on the inside. And then on the exterior, they're going to redo the exterior swimming pools. They're going to add a new exterior swimming pool and pool bar and restaurant, new volleyball courts, new tennis courts. So it will be a full all-inclusive type resort where people can come and spend 1 to 2 weeks per year and then go back to their home countries in Europe or in Portugal. This is the most cost-effective way to get the Golden Visa that exists. The full cost would be 297,000 euros. And if you see here, these costs, which are roughly 20,000 euros total, which is about 7.5%, are the closing costs on the property. And these are paid by the developer to the government on the client's behalf, which means that the client lowers their capital outlay, gets 3 years rental paid to them at the beginning in the form of taxes. And, they only need 297,000 euros to buy a property. And considering that the euro is pretty much at an all-time low in the last 20 years, and the fact that the Golden Visa is coming to an end, it really is like the perfect timing to get it done. So Abraham, over to you. I think that's everything in terms of the presentation, and let's see if we've got any questions from our audience.
Yeah, thank you, Pablo. Thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, now obviously today we spoke specifically about Portugal because of the demand and because of the urgency. And talking about demand, because of the demand, there has been some backlogs in terms of the process, but the process still goes smoothly. It's just there are delays for the steps before getting the Golden Visa. So initially in the past, if I'm correct, Pablo, it used to take up to 8 months between the initial until we get the Golden Visa cards. It's taken longer because of initially COVID kind of slowed down the government in Portugal, the process. And now due to the rush of Golden Visa applicants, it also added to this slowdown. So clients who already started, they've been delayed a few months, but they are getting their biometrics and their interviews in Portugal. And some of them, last month, I believe, a couple of our clients who were delayed a few months, they got their invitation to go to Portugal. So there are a few delays. If you can just give us, Pablo, a sort of a new timeline of what's going on right now, just to manage people's expectations.
There's quite a few delays. Last year was the worst that it's ever been in the 10 years of the Golden Visa because of COVID, because there was a change of government and just, bureaucratic inefficiencies. Now our best estimate is probably if client starts now, things should be sorted in, let's say 1 year, say 12 months, 12 to 14 months, clients could expect to get the Golden Visa cards.
So, which is obviously still a good proposition compared to the other countries in Europe. By the time, you get a Golden Visa in some countries like in Spain or Greece, to get a passport after that, the requirements are much harsher, and the time to wait to apply for a passport and the time you have to spend in those countries is definitely not 1 or 2 weeks per year. It's maybe half of your life has to be spent in those countries in order to apply for a passport, right? 6 months out of the year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it depends on the client's objective, right? So if their objective is to just get a Golden Visa and they don't care about the passport, they just want an EU residency, then, Greece is probably the best way to do it. However, if people want the passports and, I think most of our clients here are Lebanese, in the Middle East in general, and I think attending today, most of them are Lebanese. Almost always I recommend to Lebanese families to go for the Portuguese Golden Visa because it ticks a lot of boxes, whether it's a plan B, whether it's passport, whether it's for their kids, or for their retirement. And usually, clients want all the above benefits. So it's actually the only option unless you invest 1 million euros in Malta. Donate. Portugal is the only one, and you just need to there's a bit of a delay and just work with that delay from the government, but they do get approved. They're just taking a bit longer than it used to be.
Yeah. And again, like Pablo, what you mentioned is the approach. When you said depends on each and every client, our approach as Holborn, before we started the second passport or the Golden Visa department over 3 years ago now, before we started that, our main positioning is that we are independent, meaning we're not just tied up to just one company or one provider or one property. We have access to the whole market. What this allows us to do is find out from each and every client specifically what their needs are, what their objectives are, and accordingly we go out to the market and find the right solution for them. So based on this wealth management approach that we've always followed for over 20 years now, serving clients with their wealth management needs, whether it's a portfolio of stocks, bonds, and ETFs, whether it's insurance, whether it's property. By going and finding the right product for them, we're applying the same exact process with the Golden Visa and Second Passport department with Pablo, where we have access to the whole market, and we do. We have access to anywhere between countries that are in Europe and not part of the EU, European countries, North America, UK, the Caribbean islands. And before we actually give the proper advice, we ask all the correct questions, needing to know what the client's needs are. Why do they need this Golden Visa or Second Passport? Is it to secure the future of their children in terms of jobs and in terms of education? Whether it's healthcare, to save money on healthcare when they get old, or when their parents are at an old age and paying for medical insurance is high at their home country, and they want to have access to a top-tier European healthcare system. And if they do the math, if this is their aim, obviously looking at a European passport will save them money on the bills. So an education, university type tuition bills. So again, if you a couple of different types of clients that we have, if you have a business man who just wants to be able to travel as fast as possible to a country to do a business transaction and really doesn't care about Europe in terms of education and healthcare, then they would probably go with a Caribbean passport, which will be faster, cheaper, and this will allow them to just travel without having to apply for a visa and do a quick decision for business purposes. So it really depends on the person that we're meeting, whether it's for business, whether it's for family, or it's financial savings in the future. And accordingly, we have access to the whole globe in terms of what programs are out there. And we can sit with each and every one of you and your friends and family, colleagues, whoever you also feel they have a need for this. We're happy to sit with you and go on a one-on-one session. Now, if you don't have any questions, your relationship managers or whoever invited you to the webinar will be in touch with you to speak to you one-on-one and see how you like to take this forward.
I think Mazen has a question, Abraham. I don't know, maybe you can answer before we wrap up.
Sure, yeah, my mistake. I just scrolled down. Yeah, you have Mazen with 2 questions. I just saw that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's regarding going to check the properties in Portugal. Because residential doesn't qualify in Lisbon, Porto, or Algarve, which is where anyone would buy property. There's not much point in going to check out properties that you're never going to live in. We've got videos, we've got locations, we've got pictures, pretty much anything that's needed. And the objective here is to get the Golden Visa, not so much to get the and the passport. The property is just a means to an end that typically you sell back after 6 years. And there's very few options out there that qualify for the Golden Visa. So the short answer is, maybe 5% of our clients go to check out the properties. You're more than welcome to. So if you do go to Portugal, we've got a team there that can help you and take you to the properties. But I would encourage you to, look at this, without the emotion of buying real estate where you might live in, because here you can't actually live in it as it's, commercial, touristic property. And yes, we support with everything right from the beginning, from selecting the property, reserving a unit, buying the property, doing the application for the Golden Visa, all the documents, the biometrics in the first year to get the Golden Visa, and then all throughout 6 years later. And that is really one of the USPs of Holborn. We've been here for 25 years. So, we will be here another 6 years, and we've got offices all over the world, over 500 employees. And compared to a lot of our competitors that are small operations, you want to make sure that whoever you partner with, they can take you through this whole journey with you.
I might just add to Mazen's question. I know Fawaz has another question after that. The process that we went through, and I've been with Pablo from the start of his journey, we learned along the way which lawyers to deal with, which entities to have partners with in the countries where we offer those Golden Visas. And we have polished our process from the time we started till, and this is the reason we are one of the largest second passport providers in the region right now, due to the experience and the mistakes that we went through. Personally, I've had clients who went through mistakes, if you remember, Pablo, initially, where it wasn't in our hand, but we had picked a wrong lawyer, not a wrong lawyer, but a lazy lawyer. And we learned how to choose our right lawyers in order for the application to be filled out properly, in order for them to be really up and running 24/7 to help us and help our clients to go through the process of buying the property, of opening the bank account in Portugal for our clients. So this whole process, we really now, we have the support that we need, and it's the really top tier support that we have accumulated during the years that we have had the experience with second passports. So you're onboarding right now with a company that's one of the largest providers. We're probably not the cheapest out there, but definitely we're not the most expensive. But what we do, what we pride ourselves with, is we do the process right. So the application is applied way from the start. The paperwork is all done properly from the start, and we have the top lawyers following up on these applications from the start. So this is what I would like to add to what Pablo mentioned. Fawaz, you read the question of Fawaz, Pablo?
Yeah, I think our lawyers would have to take a look at that and see if it still applies. Yeah, is the apartment 30 years or older when you bought it, Fawaz? If it is 30 years or older and you spend over 300,000 euros on it, there could be a chance that it qualifies. If it's not built before 1992, then it won't qualify for the Golden Visa. Okay.
Okay. All right. So if that's it, thank you everyone for attending. This webinar is recorded as well, so you'll have access to it if you want to watch it again. If you missed something from the start, you can also watch it again. And thank you, Pablo, for presenting, and thanks the team at Holborn for making this a success. And have a good afternoon, everyone, and a good weekend.